There's two main types of racetracks in the UK. One that follows the flow of the land on a piece of hilly countryside, and one that makes use of the runways of an old airbase. Last week was the former, this week is the latter. It's time to see who can fly home a winner as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Snetterton is certainly nothing like how it was when it was first used for racing, so let's take a look at how this place has evolved into the facility it is today with our track guide. Welcome to Snetterton Circuit. Like many British tracks that were born shortly after World War II, this venue was made out of an old military airfield. It's a mere 30 minutes drive from Norwich and offers up 3 different layouts of varying lengths. This means the track is easily able to host international, regional, and club-level racing. Previously rather simple, the circuit's most recent update in 2011 introduced a twisty infield section. Still, it's mainly punctuated by 2 very long straights, the Senna Straight, where the pits are located, and the Bentley Straight, which acts as the backstretch. As you'd expect for a track born out of an airfield, there's little in the way of elevation change. However, the one spot in which you do find some undulation, it really stands out. The bomb hole dips cars down in the middle of a quick right-hand kink, causing them to have to keep a heads up lest they lose the car. The track is not without character though. Rich's is very swift for a first turn and includes 2 distinct apexes. There's also the combination of Brundle and Nelson, which forces drivers to turn hard while braking. Never an easy combination to manage. The long sweeping run through Coram down into Maurice can also be quite tricky. The car will want to drift out, forcing a shallow entry into the final left-hander. But failing to give yourself a good exit will leave you vulnerable to attack down the pit straight. Perhaps not as famous as some other British circuits, this place is a bit of a hidden gem in the UK motorsport scene. Fans who get to witness racing here certainly seem likely to return. You know, Joey, I have to be honest, I didn't expect much of this track when I first tried to drive it, but as soon as I actually got out there, I found out it's pretty fun.
I think it'll be a good combination, especially with the 49 machines out there today. 13 turns, just a tick under 3 miles in length, and as you can see, it is quite a busy circuit. There's a couple good passing opportunities, but I think the name of the game here is keep all of the wheels pointed the right direction and minimize any slippage. That means don't lock up going into turn number 2, that tight hairpin that you see up on the top left of the track map. Don't get too much on throttle coming out of turn number 4, coming out of turn number 6, coming out of turn number 12 or 13. It's all going to be about driving the track today, minimizing your own mistakes. You can keep it on the racetrack here. It's just how aggressive are you going to be with those inputs?
Now, as for the championship, Seb Tixier, with his beating Jorge Nieva last time out, has extended his points lead by just a little bit over Nieva. But if you look down at 6, Adrius Valenteus, pretty much every time except for one this season, he's taken victory when he's shown up, and he is here yet again. And as the drop weeks become less and less, more and more rather, of a factor in this, it's allowed him to climb closer and closer now, almost within a win's worth of our championship leader. So he could be a serious talking point once we are done with today. But that is just the F1 standings. Let's take a look at the F2 standings.
Same driver, different iRating. I shouldn't say same driver, same car, different iRating. It'd be difficult to have the same driver, 2 iRatings. Jan Steffen currently leading the way, 11 points over Jonathan Jordan. So that margin pretty close between those 2 drivers. A little bit of a gap back to Tobias Harnvey there in 3rd place. And then tied between 4th and 5th with David Muse and Roberto Pengrazzi. Mats Linden only 5 points behind that pair. And then rounding out the top 10 as well as Thomas Tuba, Andres Bruno, Thomas Willershausen, and Emilio Pradera.
Now, over in the Nations Cup, impressively, Spain is still on top. Singapore closing in, but it's a decent-sized gap, with Nieva obviously contributing a lot of points for Spain and Tixier for Singapore. Nicola Kaki trying to bring Italy into it, and is certainly a threat to taking over that second spot, as there is only 5 points between them. Now, farther down from there, it gets pretty tight between Japan, the United Kingdom, and the Netherlands, all fighting for fifth as well. And remember, we got 13 races this time around this season, so there's more opportunities for it to swap. Speaking of which, let's run over the race details.
Round 10 of those 13 races that the drivers are going to be doing for the championship. 19 laps around this place. I mentioned it looks like a handful, almost 2 minutes per lap out here. An open setup, so you can go ahead and click on that garage tab, tweak and tune on the car settings to make sure it's driving just as you need it to for this specific racetrack. No spare car, so guess what? If you get any damage out there, you have to live with a damaged car or come down pit lane and get that fixed up. A drive-through penalty at 17 incident points, disqualification at 25 incident points. Joe, when I think about those 1Xs or 4Xs here at Snetterton, I'm primarily looking at car contact versus the off tracks here. Lots of heavy brake zones that you can easily just get in a little bit too deep.
Some very awkward entries to some of these corners, which is going to make it difficult, no doubt. Qualifying underway, and before we get to that, we do want to mention that we have a Black Friday sale going on for iRacing. This is the biggest sale that they offer all year long. 50% off for new memberships, 25% off for early renewals and reactivations. And I have to say, I have already renewed mine. I do it every year. I wait for them to set this up. It's one of their best possible deals. Got a whole new year set up, and I am ready to go for another 12 months of iRacing. But let's get ready for 19 laps with Topi Kortiniemi currently on the top spot. Now, this is going to be an interesting fight. Topi versus Adrius out there, and it does look like they are going to be pretty tight on pace.
I think the other wild card that I'm seeing, and I didn't expect to see his name here today, do you see who's in provisional third spot right now? Looks like we have Mick Claridge back out on the track. So not only Topi and Adrius up front, you got Mick in third, Togo Hesada sitting in fourth, Nicola Kaki in fifth place, Kevin Verbruggen in sixth. I mean, I'm going through the entire top 10. It's a who's who of who's fastest in these cars.
And I'm sure, you know, those who haven't been watching for quite some time are going, Mick who? What's this? Well, Mick used to be the guy to beat, along with a couple other drivers who have kind of stepped by the wayside. We've had sort of a different class come in over the last couple of years, but Mick has been away trying to literally travel the world, but is decided to return, and I was told he is going to be competing here some more, and it looks like he hasn't really missed a beat, being amongst the top three as we watch with Jorge Nieva 13th on that first lap. This second one is going to be so important because this is not typical. He's not known for the best of qualifyings, but I usually don't see him outside the top 10.
No, and typically this is his qualifying style. He lets everybody else go out there and turn their laps, let them get on the board, and it kind of gives him a reference time as we watch Valenteus come over and complete his second lap. It is actually a little bit faster, but not fast enough to steal away pole position. Only 14 thousandths of a second separating our top two as Nieva is arcing through the last couple sets of corners.
Oh, this is going to be interesting for sure. Nieva coming off of Murray's into the start-finish line. And he's too late. Did he cross it in time? No, he did not. Wow, so he's going to have to start from 14th. Let's go over those starting order results. This is an absolute shocker for him. Topi Kortiniemi has put it on the pole, coming back to try and see if he could take the fight to Adrius Valenteus, who will start next to him, 14 thousandths between them. Mick Claridge also returning, starting from the inside of row 2, and Togo Hesada will be fourth. Nicola Kaki, P5, and then Seb Tixier starting 6th. There is an amazing top 3 rows for this series. Kevin Verbruggen starting 7th, Leo Sequeiro in 8th, and Gary Ho 9th. Steve Morris rounds out your top 10.
Uwe Trengrade back here in 11th place. Marco Salgado, 12th. John Olsen in 13th. There's Jorge Nieva back in 14th with that poor qualifying effort. Didn't get the second lap in. Alan Graham, 15th. Cam Porter, 16th. Always one of the regulars. Jan Steffen, 17th. Jonathan Jordan, 18th. And then Bruno Santamaria and Tobias Harnvey rounding out the top 20.
Michael Grissinger starts in 21st. Then you've got Kurt Clapper, 22nd. And Eugenio Massa in the 23rd spot. Andre Bruno starts P24, whereas David Muse will be in the quarter century position. Thomas Tuba in 26th. After that, it's Robert Thompson in 27th. He'll be flanked by Josephine Becker. And then 29th goes to Babis Mavrakis in 29th. You've got Jason Clapper in 30th, Jose Conde in 31st, and Shaheen Gorgan in 32nd. So decent-sized fields. As we said, the lap is relatively long compared to what you've got with the 200 layout at this track. So while we might have traffic, it won't be as bad as we've seen in some of the previous ones. Cars ready to go, waiting for the signal from the flag stand on this one. It looks like we've got all but just the final car lined up on the grid. So what is going to happen with Nieva having to climb back through the fields, and can Mick and Topi beat Adrius Valenteus on the track? Green flag is out, and it is a pretty good start for Valenteus, already climbing up the south side of Courtenay, coming up towards Riches, but that's going to be hard to make that pass. He tries to cut back underneath, nothing happening there. Meanwhile, the rest of the field tries to file through the double apexer.
And this is tough right here. Hard on the brakes the first time. The number one car does get down to the inside. That's Valenteus, and Togo Hisada has spun around in front of the entire field. He now gets collected. A nightmare start for the number 5 car.
A number of other drivers did wind up in that. Looks like Kurt Clapper is amongst them. I think David Muse as well, along with Steve Morris. Oh, my goodness. And meanwhile, we got a battle for the lead. Look at this. Valenteus and Courtenay. Adrius round the outside, coming through Hamilton. Not quite there, though. Now down into Augie's, who's going to have the inside while Mick Claridge watches from behind. Can he pick both their pockets? No. Adrius is going to make it stick.
I love the paint scheme that we've got out of that third place car, Mick Claridge. That looks like a Bjorn Ackerman paint scheme. He's not here with us today, but I'm sure he's watching. Courtenay's got a nice run down this straightaway. He's going to put the nose to the inside, but deep on the brakes was Valenteus defending the position.
So top 3 nose to tail here at the end of the first lap, with Nicola Kaki watching from behind. Also keep an eye on Seb Tixier. I have a feeling he's got maybe a bit more speed than this. The long, never-ending Coram down into Murray's, and really have to manage the grip until you get to this braking zone and then really fire off the final turn down the center straight.
This is the longest straightaway crossover complete. 1 lap here at Snetterton. Come up to this kind of arcing double right apex. Turn number 1 here. 1, 2, 3. Valenteus, Courtenay, Claridge. I'm looking towards turn number 2 here. See if there's going to be any more disaster as we get a look at our lap 1 replay.
So this is going to be coming into Wilson. And looks like we'll check that out later, as we're having a little bit of an issue with the replay. But yeah, into turn 2, and Wilson just... something happened coming off the corner. He was facing backwards. Now, you might notice that Mick Claridge's paint scheme looks slightly familiar. It looks like he's paying a little homage to Bjorn Ackerman, who's not here and recovering from a bit of a sore back, it sounds like.
This is that replay. So watch Togo Hisada. He's that 4th car in line. He's going to get a tap from the right rear. There's Nicola Kaki getting barely into the right rear of Hisada, and then I'm not even sure how many cars were collected here. We had the entire 32-car field go through, and you can see probably at least 4 or 5, maybe even 6 cars picked up some damage.
Definitely a few that did a good job avoiding all of that because it could have been so much worse. We've lost Clapper, Hisada, Morris, and Gorgon in that opening wreck. Topi Kortaniemi watching from behind. Audrius Valenteus completing the second lap now. Claridge still right behind them. Kaki's not been able to run them down quite yet. Let's see if Topi can stay closer because he had a poor exit out of Murray's last time.
As we watch this, let's see if he can get it back to the left side here, be able to put the power down. And it's about even. I just wonder if he's going to be able to use the slipstream. These cars are so gosh dang fast. Already over 170 miles an hour, and just the braking zone. Oh my gosh, look out for the car coming out of pit lane there. Mick Claridge almost clipped him as well. I did not see that one down the road. That was a nervous moment for the front group.
That was Shaheen coming back onto the track after repairing his car. So he's a lap down. He's trying to stay out of the way because the entire field is lapping him now. Yeah, glad to see that didn't go worse. John Olsen, though, spun, I think, maybe a little bit off-sided by that car in the background. Meanwhile, watching Seb Tixier in a fight with Nicola Kaki. This is coming up to Agostini. This is where things get pretty tight here on the infield, just constant corners back and forth.
Look at the onboard view from Seb Tixier here. I always love the, call it the in-car shots, right? The in-sim shots. And it kind of blows my mind how many of these 49 and 79 runners actually have these motion rigs. I just think it's so impressive out there. Seb using not only the virtual reality, got the Lotus wheel and also the motion rig. Probably feels just like driving one of these things.
He's got Mick in the wrong place, though. Mick's in front of him, not behind him right now. So that was a little bit of an oops on his part. We'll see if he can catch him. He's still got to get by Kaki first, though, through the bomb hole, one of the few places where you have some elevation change on this lap. Look at him try to keep it as tucked far inside as he can go up through Coram.
I think he's just trying to keep, the smart people looking over his shoulder, because I see another familiar face over his left shoulder out there. Really, really smart person.
Well, we'll see whether or not that intelligence rubs off and gets him a chance to try and overtake, because he's been very close behind that number 5 for a bit now. It does look like it's a bit tough to pass today.
This is down into that turn number 2 hairpin as we check back in. This is Jonathan Jourdain in the pink car. He is right behind Bruno Santamaria. Both of these cars have actually moved up a couple places. Bruno is actually up 4 spots from where he started. Jonathan just kind of hanging out, started back in 18th, has now moved his way up to 16th. But you see kind of this pack in the middle of the field. They're very, very close to each other right now. And as everybody kind of gets their feet wet and figures out their race pace, I think a lot of positions are still up for grabs.
Very much so. And I've seen a couple spins that we haven't really shown. So it seems like it's also a pretty tricky one for this car, which makes sense. You get these slower corners, no downforce on this car. It's tough to try and get that throttle down. It's so lightweight, and they head down the fastest straightaway, Bentley, straight towards Brundle, but nothing doing for Topi Kortaniemi, having to wait patiently behind Valenteus. As we got a replay of, looks like Robert Thompson into Riches. Does he have an issue? Yes, he does have a big issue and smashes it into the Armco.
I liked what I saw after the wreck, though. He realized he had a wounded car. He wasn't going to do anything with it. He pulled it off of the racetrack rather than stopping it and hitting the reset button. Good awareness from that driver. Is Bruno, he's continued the charge up. Remember, he had just gotten around that pink car of Jonathan a couple laps ago, and now he is right on the back of Cam Porter, trying to find his way around. Cam tucks it nicely down to the inside there, the right-hand side, and now launches himself out onto this straightaway here on the front straightaway, and actually gets a nice little gap between himself and Bruno.
Yeah, that looked like it was going to be critical, because even coming through Coram, Bruno was kind of poking his nose around the outside. He sent it in so deep. I thought that maybe he'd make an amazing pass there, but was not meant to be. Not going to make it into Wilson quite either, as now they head into the newer portion of the lap. This is a relatively recent addition to this circuit here, these little twists and turns on the infield. I believe it was around the early 2000s that they added this. As we check back in with Topi and Valenteus, he's not letting Adrius rest on his laurels at all. He has been filling those rear view mirrors the entire race.
It's been pretty close the whole time. Let's call it 5.5 laps that they've been doing. I think that this is the section that Topi's actually fastest. It's just that it doesn't really lead into a passing opportunity there into turn 9 and 10 complex. So, yeah, he gains some time, but then kind of has to sit there in a single file racetrack following Valenteus around for an entire sector before he finally gets an opportunity. And by that time, he's just not as close to him as he once was. So I'm sure it might be a little bit frustrating, but we're only a third of the way through this thing. You just got to keep swimming, try to force a mistake. I was going to mention something here that involves this driver, Seb Tixier. While he's getting held up behind Nick Kaki, Kevin Verbruggen just got by him. Jorge Nieva, his championship rival who started way outside the top 10, look at him. He's only 2 cars behind.
Ooh, good catch on that one. Yeah, Jorge's been making pretty quick work on this. And keep in mind, Tixier is really his main concern. Although Valenteus, I did say that he could be an issue. Valenteus does need to execute and continue to get good finishes. Although a second place still would be easily a good result that could keep him in the fight here. Tixier still chasing on Kevin Verbruggen now that he's managed to get by, looking down at the inside of Agostini, but nothing doing that time.
And to kind of make this even more interesting, Seb Tixier, his fastest lap so far, 14.5, almost a 14.6. Nieva down at a 47.4. So I just think that going through the traffic, being a faster car, making the passes, catching up to Tixier, this could be very interesting that Nieva actually overtakes Tixier on the track.
Certainly would be a great response from him, because at times he hasn't seemed to be able to quite keep up with him on pace. Watching Jason Clapper and Bruno Santamaria, the 2 drivers that have been moving forward, but Jason Clapper, in typical fashion, up 14 without his qualifying lap. Is he going to be able to make the move? Is Cam Porter in front of him as well over Jan Steven? That is not easy to make the pass in the Brundle in these cars.
It's kind of that little 9-10 chicane off of the back straightaway. You're right, just the brake pressure is not huge right there. It looks like Seb is going to try to get that spot back from Verbruggen. Remember, Kevin got around Tixier maybe a few laps ago for that 5th place position because Seb was chasing down Kaki. Now Seb down to the inside, really late on the brakes. He's always so confident on that brake pedal and is able to snag away that 5th place position.
Decisive move. Verbruggen didn't fight it. Surprised he didn't try to cover off the inside coming into Wilson. And that allows Leo Sequeiro to catch up to them a little bit, but also Nieva, who you mentioned a bit earlier, down into Agostini once again, as we're going to check out a replay of what happened to Ove Trangerade. Outbreaks himself, and what looks like Augies brings it back onto the track without incident, except he's lost a spot.
Trangerade, I think maybe it's just a really good placeholder, because we know he's so fast in everything that he drives. And kind of to your point of how fast our entire top 6 was in qualifying, Trangerade sitting back there in 11th place. When have you ever heard of Ove Trangerade outside of the top 10?
Yeah, that's a good point. Usually he is right up there. But I will say, I know recently he's kind of had a habit of, Leo Sequeiro with a hiccup. And Jorge Nieva gets that one before they reach the bomb hole. So nice little advantageous little move from Jorge Nieva to pick up P7. But I was going to say, Trangerade has had a habit recently of actually not practicing, and the warm-up laps being his first laps each week at the track. So I wonder if that's what he's done this week.
If I did that, Joe, I don't know. That is totally a two-edged sword where you can go in there and have such gratification from no practice and then being able to come out here and perform at a top level as he takes away what is 10th place from Marco Salgado in turn number 1. Or it could go the other way. Let's say you don't do any practice, you come out here and you just don't find a rhythm with the racetrack. It could be the most frustrating 45 minutes too.
Exactly. I think from what we know about him and being just a competitor, I think he enjoys the challenge of trying to get up through the field. Alan Graham is going to get another spot himself and move into 18th past Harnvey. Into Riches, another one you don't often see passes despite being at the end of a long straightaway.
Just kind of give a little bit of a reset, and we're going to get a GSRC replay here. See what happened to Sequeira. Oh, this is Nieva. Just look at how close this is. Sequeira gets loose, and then just barely Nieva was able to do an emergency lane change through the acceleration phase. And Joe, you know, that's not easy to yank the car over while it's in one of those lower gears. You're just asking for a huge moment.
I mean, really impressive. Like you were saying, being able to sneak through between Nelson and the bomb hole. Usually that's very single file. Anybody who tries to go too wide through there, that's a big dip and can be disastrous as the car gets so unsettled. So Leo now back down to 8th. Nieva up to 7th. Tixier has managed to return to 5th. Oh, and we're going back to Santa Maria. And Stefan down into Brundle and Nelson. It looks like Bruno is going to come out ahead of that crew. Jason Clapper watching from behind, trying to size up Jan, but just no space down into Corum. Now he has to sit behind.
See through this arcing right-hander. Can he keep the nose tucked to the right side? Drifted out a little bit wide in the middle of the corner, but then really does a nice job through the final apex there. Gets on the gas. Going to go to the left side of Jan out here on the front straightaway. I think he realizes that he's going to have to concede that position, so move Jason Clapper up into 15th. Drifts a little bit wide there at the first apex at turn number 1. I think that just kind of goes to show that that corner might not be a passing opportunity, but it's definitely an opportunity for a mistake.
Sure is. He's kind of lucky. I thought he was going to go off into the weeds. There's no wall to the outside of that one, which is the interesting thing. If you wind up snapping the car and spinning off the left-hand side, you kind of literally fall into a bunch of overgrown weeds, and you have to find your way out. Thankfully, you don't get stuck in these cars in the sim. Topi Cortinimi. Ooh, now we're starting to see some challenges. I saw him kind of looking down to the inside into Brundle, and he is staying glued to that gearbox. So he's starting to think about, what can I do to get by the number 1 car?
There is a little bit of racecraft going on right there in turn number 10, too, because you saw our leader get in a little bit deep, and then he really had to jump on the brakes, kind of park it at the apex, and almost caught out Cortiniami, who we're riding on board with. But he did a good job to not run into the back gearbox of our leader. And down the front straightaway, click it over to lap number 10 out here. Let's see how they're able to navigate this very, very fast double apex turn number 1. Minimum rolling speed of 100 miles an hour in these cars, even without any downforce.
Remember, 60s technology and minimum speed of 100 through there. That's impressive. Nieva a little bit slower through Wilson, and Kevin Verbruggen now has to watch over his shoulder. Jorge's trying to see if he can get by him. Remember, he needs to try and pass Seb Tixier to get himself closer to the lead. Unless he gets a lot of spots past Seb, he's not going to re-overtake him in the points, but he needs to try and stop the bleeding.
I do feel that if Nieva is able to get around this light blue number 9 car right in front of him, in the next lap and a half, call it. If it takes 2 laps, if it takes 3 laps, it's too long. Seb Tixier is going to be running off in the distance. He's not too far up the road right now, only about 1.4 seconds. So Nieva is the faster of the 2 cars. He just needs to clear Verbruggen in order to hunt down his rival.
Topi not showing his cards yet this time into the braking at the end of the back straightaway, but still hovering around, making his presence known to Audrius Valenteus. This is into Corum once again. So look at him try to open up that corner a bit, go a little bit wider than the number 1. Maybe try to set himself up here for this one. Oh, but he misses the apex, and he's going to lose out coming onto the center straight.
I like what I'm seeing out of Valenteus. I do feel like Topi's probably a little bit faster. Otherwise, he wouldn't catch the back of our leader all these amount of times, right? There's obviously something that he has got over Topi, or I should say over Andreas out front here. I'm getting my names mixed up here this morning. It's early, and there goes Nieva down to the inside of turn number 1, clears Kevin Verbruggen, so he does clear him in that, call it, lap and a half window that I was talking about. Now he's got free road between himself and Tixier.
You know, regardless if he beats Seb today or not, I feel like this is a drive to be proud of Diego.
Totally.
I did not think that he'd make this quick a work to catch up. I thought he'd have a bit of a time, but he's been almost methodical in the passes he's been making. Nothing's been spectacular. He's just been picking them off one by one.
And that's why I've been referencing, I do think that if Nieva and Tixier are alone on the track together and there's nothing in terms of pressure in the rearview mirror, I think that Nieva can get the pass done, right? He's had the confidence from going 14th all the way up to 6th right now. He knows where to make the passes. He's clearly got the outright pace on his championship rival. Just needs to get up there and fight him.
Got a few laps left to do it, but it's going to be tough. And no doubt Seb's going to be pushing to make sure he can't get anywhere near him, at least like what we've been seeing in this battle for P1. That start off the line for Valenteus wound up being one of the most important factors, but not the most important factor, because he completed that pass after fighting with Topi for a number of corners on that first lap. Clearly, he has got the bit between his teeth because he was not willing to give up that opportunity when he knew the chance was there.
Watch these cars really aggressive on the entry from Courtney into turn number 1 and was able to hang the car around the inside of those corners there, actually close in a little bit of ground, and then same thing right there in turn number 2, was able to just hold the apex a little bit tighter than Valenteus out front. I will say that he had a little bit of a slip up trying to put the power down, but I think that Valenteus is doing a very, very good job out front, that if Courtney comes up in the mirror and gets a little bit close, he kind of maybe parks it at an apex and gets a really, really good launch off of the corner, which is all you need here.
Something's happened to Andre Bruno that we pulled up a replay for him, and he's going just a little bit too hot and spins it around, and someone has to take evasive action. 2 people have to try and sneak by. Thankfully, it did not become a bigger accident.
Great heads up from both of those drivers to avoid that spinning car, as Cam Porter has had a very good run so far today, but he has got a hungry and fast Jason Clapper in his mirrors. That's the black number 13. I'm sure Cam is plenty aware, but he is all focused out front from what I can see.
Yeah, Cam Porter has gained 3, so nothing like what Jason has done, but Cam did set a qualifying time on this one. This is coming up to Williams. This is an important long right-hander here coming onto the back straight to really nail your exit, and he does. Clapper has no response for him.
Cam, remember really early on when Bruno Santamaria had just immediately passed Jordan and caught the back of Cam Porter, but Cam responded. He got around a couple cars, and he's been able to lay down the laps, and he's been very, very consistent with it. However, now that number 13 car draws a little bit closer, you see a few more wiggles out of this red number 20 car. You just got to keep it consistent, and it's tough when Clapper is laying on the pressure.
Clapper's got so much experience making these overtakes in this series, and he's right there. It looks like he's quick enough because he's still holding to the back of Cam Porter around much of the lap. He gains coming down the center straight, but just doesn't have enough. Oh, and that's wide from Cam Porter into Riches, cuts back down to the second apex. That'll deny Clapper that time, and he's not close enough into Wilson to try and sneak one up the inside.
It's a funny little rubber band accordion effect if you're too wide in turn number 1, because there is that little short shoot straightaway before you get to turn number 2. So I do think that turn number 1 is all about maximizing rolling speed. So the entry is really where you're going to make up the most amount of time. think if you drift out too wide, not only are you losing time, but you always get that nervousness. So is that front left tire going to hang on to it, or am I going to go for a ride in the grass?
Exactly. Well, and if you're slow off of it, that short straight down to Wilson, does that give an opportunity for someone to try and pass into that 180-degree hairpin as well? This is where I was talking about last time that Jason's got to really get himself a run, but both of them going wide. Oh, that must be a slowdown penalty, I think, for Cam Porter for him to pull off. And I don't see a black flag next to his name, but regardless, he has given it up, and Jason's now into 13th. Oh, something's happened to Eva.
I was just noticing that myself. I think that he had a self-spin. Oh my goodness, what was such a great day for this number 3 car has kind of unraveled for him.
And I think you're right. I think that was his own doing, no help, and winds up back to 10th. So all that hard work has just unraveled with very few laps left to try and make up for it. Still 6 to go. So here's Jorge. Oh, it was already looking loose coming into Coram, and he took a lot of dirt. Oh, that's into the bomb hole. This is into Coram, and the car starts to come around. He knows it, but it's too late, and off she goes.
And you saw him, once it got loose on him, he actually turned into the slide. He realized he couldn't take that early trajectory off into the grass. It really was a shame, Joe, because I was watching the gap. It was 1.4 seconds when he got clear of Verbruggen, and it was down to about half a second, 3/4 of a second between himself and Tixier. Just, that's a tough one to swallow.
So Verbruggen now has Sequeiro behind him instead as they fly down the backstretch. And I want to give credit to Kevin, honestly, because this has been, I'd say, something of a quiet race from him. We've seen some overtakes, so he's been in it, but this kind of goes back to what we've been saying a lot about him this season, that he just has surprised everybody by steadily making progress, finding speed, not doing anything flashy out there, but just showing he's got the pace now.
And he's sitting in a great position towards the end of this race, right? I mean, yes, he's in 6th place. Yes, he's got pressure from Sequeiro behind him, but it goes back to that point, limit the mistakes. We've seen Nieva make a mistake. We've seen several mistakes out of other drivers at the front of this field. So as long as he continues to kind of be that immovable rock, not fazed by anything around him, he is going to collect valuable points. And 5th place in the championship, 6th place on track, it tracks pretty equal.
Just kind of got a feel for guys like Kevin and Leo, both very fast drivers now, but they showed up on a day where you have Valenteus, Cortinimi, Claridge, Cocky, Tixier, all in there. So them being 6th and 7th, I mean, still is impressive, because you're going to have to really step up your game to chase down some of those heavy hitters up in front of you as we check out 17th with Alan Graham, sandwiched between Santa Maria, Stefan, and Jourdain in a 4-car battle in the mid-pack.
Yeah, a good fight here with a handful of laps remaining. Oh my goodness, look at how loose that car is out front. That's Bruno Santa Maria just trying to put the power down in that baby blue and orange number 16. Jan Stefan in that white 24 directly behind. Hard on the brakes here, a little bit wide from the leader of this train, but gets a nice exit off of that corner. Doesn't really do him a whole lot of good, though, because you get stacked up immediately feeding into this next left-hander.
I get the sense this is a track where we're going to see a lot of these loose cars. You know, we always talk about needing to kind of set up the differential to the track in these cars. And I got to think, with how many tight, twisty corners, wouldn't you want it to be maybe a little bit loose and rotatey around here?
It depends on how the driver likes it. Oh, is Gary Ho going to make a pass? Oh, Gary Ho's under threat from Trengrade right here. Trengrade actually gets to the inside nice and easy. Nieva, oh my goodness, contact between Gary and Ove. That's going to open the door for Nieva. Gary tried to do an over-under, and there just wasn't quite enough room between himself and Trengrade, that little bit of contact, but I'm really impressed that they were both able to kind of stay on the track. And to your point about the differential, Joe, I think that the tighter the diff, the better launch you can get coming out of the corner exit, but you have to be aware of that wheel spin and roll onto the throttle. If you just jam onto the gas, you're going to get a big loose moment. Just Nieva's on a mission, isn't he?
Yeah, Jorge wants this spot back. He's already gotten one from Gary Ho, but Orve Trangrade just in front of him. Coming down into the braking of Augie's is not going to be close enough. Ove will fight him for it, and he's going to relish it. These two have raced against each other plenty of times, but Ove goes a little bit wide. That'll compromise the speed. Nieva's got a chance. Ove knows it. He blocks the inside coming down into Brundle. Jorge might try to go the long way around, which will switch back to the inside into Nelson, but there's not enough grip there.
I think that was a great piece of driving, really, from all three of them, but Trangrade didn't go sliding out wide. He knew Nieva was going to be to the outside there if he was really trying to kind of press the issue. So good, respectful driving, even though Nieva has not had the back half of the race that he wanted.
Certainly, and Nieva now sets himself back up. One thing I liked from the onboard that we had of Gary Ho is we could see that motion rig really jostle him around when he had to take the evasive action. And here we'll get another look at it coming down through Rich's once again. A little smoother this time, but watch it. Yeah, you can see when he gets on the brakes, the lean forward to tell him that he is getting lots of G-forces trying to slow that thing up.
I think the only non-immersive thing about Gary Ho's simulator over there is his button box on the left side. That thing would be sticking so far out the side of this Lotus Ford. What do they put those hubcaps on those lowriders? Maybe that's what he's trying to do, you know, get one of those spikes out there to the side.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you could see from the onboard in the sim just how cramped it was inside of there. In fact, that is why, if you've ever been inside in the sim, as we get a little look from Nieva on Trangrade once again, doesn't quite make that one work. Goes for the over-under, but it's not a long enough straight down into Williams. But I was going to say, you'll notice that the car, the wheel, is off-center. You sit a little bit at the side. That's so you have enough space to shift the gears in the car on the right-hand side.
And, of course, I'm being facetious about the button box and sticking out the side of the chest. Yo, Trangrade, a little bit wide. That's what Nieva needed. You saw it was almost deja vu from the lap before. Nieva now really down to the inside. He's got to keep it tight. And I don't know how Trangrade is able to carry the momentum along the outside of the racetrack there. I thought for sure Nieva had the pass done, but what a battle between these two.
Watch out. Gary Ho could easily take them both by surprise with them fighting this hard. I'm kind of shocked he's not closer in this fight. Nieva gets another run. Trangrade, I thought he was going to try and stick his nose down. Maybe he's waiting for Wilson instead of into Rich's. It's a heavier braking zone into this one. He's still right behind him, but no, it is not there.
And just from watching these drivers for so many seasons now, I really feel like Nieva's strong suit is being able to drive clean, consistent laps. That doesn't mean that he's 100% perfect all of the time. He does make mistakes out there, but I just think that's his strongest point of his driving. Now we're going to get checked up from a lap car. This is going to be management on Trangrade's part as well as Nieva. Where do you pass this car, and can you get around him efficiently? He definitely got choked up there. This is going to provide an opportunity.
Yeah, this is perhaps the worst place to catch Josephine Becker, who is not pulling off to the side. She should have an opportunity to let them go coming down the Bentley straight. What's she going to do? She holds off, yes, off the racing line. Now they can sneak through, but the damage has been done as Nieva has another shot. He looks around the outside. This time he's fully alongside, but under braking, Ove Trangrade will deny.
So tough, and Gary Ho barely got the car stopped as he was able to get around that lapped car. A little bit of a nervous moment, I'm sure, for that purple helmet back there as Nieva he continues to hound the back of Ove Trangrade. Our leaders are officially on their final lap here as this battle goes out onto the front straightaway.
Keeping an eye on this, but I can report that Cortinemi lost to about 0.9 of a second, so it's not as close as we saw earlier on in the race where it seemed like Topi was much quicker than him. Nieva definitely looks quicker than Trangrade, and checking in on Sequeiro versus Verbruggen. Not going to make that one stick. Whoa! Down the inside. Nieva knew this is the last lap, last chance. Well, there he goes. He's got P8.
Evidently, Nieva was listening to me. I said that he wasn't necessarily the fastest on the brakes, and he just kind of slid right up in front of Trangrade in turn number 2. Was able to take away 8th place, but it's still not where Jorge wants to be here today.
No, it's, 8th place is kind of leaving some points on the table for him, so he'll take a hit in the championship. In fact, he might not even take this 8th place. Trangrade's still right there, and he wants it back. I don't know if it's going to be safe. He's going to have to play quite the defense to keep him off of him, but we check out Adrius Valenteus. He started off strong from the drop of the green. He fought hard to try and get past Topi Kortaniemi in the first couple corners of the lap. He made it stick. Topi pressured him as far as he could, but it wasn't enough. Valenteus will carry it on and will win here today once again at Snetterton.
Nicely done from that number 1 car. A perfectly executed race strategy. Looks like Mick Claridge will stand on the podium with that unicorn machine. This battle right here between Sequeiro and Verbruggen has been raging on for what seems like the last half of the race. And let me tell you, folks, I know we didn't get to watch it all the time, but they had one heck of a fight, especially the final few laps.
Nieva takes 8th, Ho 9th, and Trangrade, if you're wondering what happened to him, he spun actually outbraked himself, really, coming off of Brundle. So John Olsen looks like he is going to get himself a nice 12th. How about Jason Clapper, though, behind him? 17 positions gained to finish P13. That was a very good run for him.
You know, the other one that I'm looking at, obviously Cam Porter, one of our regulars, he's going to cross the line, but I'm looking at the number 17 car, Jose Conda, up 12 positions himself. We're always used to talking about Jason Clapper starting from the back, most positions gained, but the other double-digit car is Jose.
Also want to give credit to Josephine Baker. She immediately, after the race, got on the text chat and apologized for what happened with the lap traffic incident. So clearly did not mean to hold them up and just kind of was in a bad place at a bad time. Well, that brings us to our finishing results, where Adrius Valenteus continues to chip away and might actually be a championship threat now. Topi Kortaniemi came home P2 with Mick Claridge in 3rd. Mick just could not keep up with the regulars here this year. We'll see if that changes as he shows up more. Nicola Kaki P4 ahead of Seb Tixier. Great run by Nicola, if a little bit quiet for him. Kevin Verbruggen in 6th, ahead of Leo Sequeiro P7. Nieva with a spin could have been looking at a 5th or a 6th, but was only 8th as Gary Ho was 9th and Ove Trangrade has to settle for the top 10.
Marco Salgado here in 11th place with John Olsen finishing in 12th. Our biggest mover finishes in 13th as Jason Clapper. Cam Porter with a good run today, finishing 14th. Bruno Santamaria also had a good early half of the race and then hung on to it for a 15th place finish. Jan Steffen 16th, Alan Graham 17th, Jonathan Jordan in 18th, Jose Conda back here 19th. I mentioned he was the other big mover today, up 12 positions from where he started, and Tobias Harnby rounding out the top 20.
21st goes to Thomas Tuba, Andre Bruno 22nd, and then Eugenio Massapi 23. Then it's Robert Thompson 24th, and David Muse was the last one on the lead lap in at 25th. Josephine Becker was P26 with Kurt Clapper 27th and Steve Morris 28th. Babis Mavrakis, this is when we get into drivers at DNF. Grissinger, Gorgian, and Hisada, shockingly, at the very back of the field, being out on lap 1, unfortunately. Well, we said we might have some people who aren't familiar with Mick Claridge, so we got a chance to maybe introduce him to newcomers to this series. Our 3rd place finisher, ready to come chat with us. So let's see what stories he has to tell, trying to chase down 2 of the quickest in this car. Mick, welcome back. You you returned with a podium, but it looked like you got a little bit of pace to catch up with Topi and Adrius.
Oh man, you wouldn't believe the week I've had trying to get over the brake pedal, learning the brake pedal again, getting back used to the Rift, and I've had 3 races this week, and all of them have ended in disaster. And that was the first good race I've had. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be in sight of them at the end. I thought it was going to be like a good 25, 30-second gap or something like that. So really happy with that.
So what's your rig like now? Is it a lawnmower or some sort of deck chair, or is it on the barbecue again?
No, I've actually got like a cheapy racing seat, so I'm actually in a Formula position. I'm actually there, when I look down at my legs in the VR, it actually looks like my legs are there, so it's a bit freaky. It's pretty spot on, my sitting position at the moment.
I guess
maybe that's where all his speed went.
Yeah, there you go. He's distracted by his legs. Well, how much are we going to see you for the rest of the season?
I'm going to be back for a year and a half, and then I'm going on another you-know-what, Joe. So, yeah, a year and a half racing, try and get some more race wins and see how I get on. I'm back for a while now.
You've got some competition, but congratulations on the podium.
Absolutely, yeah. Can I just say, I have to say thanks to one person, in fact, 2 people. Nick Cocky years ago sent me a Rift S. I'm still using it. And Seb, bless him, I know I spoke about this before to you, Joe. Seb sent me a graphics card and another headset, what I can't use yet, but I cannot thank the guys enough. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Seb, especially, and Nick. So it's just unbelievable. The community's unbelievable. Seb sent me this stuff. He didn't even want postage. He's just a legend, absolute legend. I love him.
I love the community here in the way that everybody supports one another. That was Mick Claridge finishing P3. Ahead of him was Topi Cortinemi. It sounds like Joey has caught up with him.
Yeah, we've got Topi in the booth with us. Congratulations on the second place today.
Thanks, Joey.
So, I thought that you were faster in some areas of the racetrack, but Valenteus just was able to kind of park it at the apex when he needed to, from what I saw.
Yeah, I think he was slower into the left-hander, right-hander combo after the back straight. I almost rear-ended a couple of times there, thinking I was braking early, and I think I was faster into the slow stuff, but I think the carousel and some other than Aldous was faster.
That's exactly what I saw from kind of watching it from up above. What did you need, or maybe where did you need more speed in the section of the racetrack to get the pass done?
I think I should have gotten a good exit from the last turn and closed the gap before T1, and I think I was faster in T1, so I could have made a move into T2, but I figured it out too late.
Well, let's throw Snetterton out the window. Interlagos next weekend. How do you feel about that one?
Oh, that's a great track. I'm trying to race. Definitely. It's a good track.
Well, that's great to hear. I love watching you. Everybody loves watching you. Thank you, Topi, for coming out and really racing with us week in and week out. Is there anybody you want to say hi to?
All the guys in the 49. It's great to see actually much more stacked field in the 49 than in the 79 these days. So yeah, all the 49 community and the top 10 especially, it's good to race here.
I want to echo what this driver just said. You could go through the entire top 10 on today's, especially qualifying results, and it is just stacked with talent. This driver right here, driving the number 2, Joe, finished in second place today, Topi Cortinemi.
Yeah, behind him was Nicola Cocky finishing P4, who I guess we found out helped out Mick Claridge, who beat him to the podium today. So, Nicola, any regrets sending that equipment to Mick because he kind of stole your champagne?
No, that was a gift I sent him like many years ago, and it's kind of incredible that he's still using that thing. And but yeah, just like he said, the community here is amazing, and we always help each other if we can. And about that topic, I just want to, go a little bit sideways here, but I really want to say sorry to Togo. I know he sent me a message writing me that it was not my fault, and watching, our lap one contact, it didn't look like it really was my 100% fault, but I'm still gutted, because last races I always end up, for some reason or another, clashing against Togo's car, and it looks like my ping is so much stronger than his, and he's always end up spinning, and my car always end up like having nothing, just like going like nothing happened, and I'm really frustrated about this, because Togo is a super nice guy, and yesterday was even his birthday, and I really cannot find a way to let me race with him, alongside him, without anything happen, and this make me really mad. I'm sorry, mate.
I can tell how much it means to you guys that you want to be able to race each other clean. If I know him, he'll be able to shrug it off. I mean, knowing that, we already talked to Topi about next week at Interlagos. There's a lot of tight, twisty turns. You're going to give just a little bit more space to him next week if you get close together again?
Man, I'm trying. I really trying. I really trying to thinking ahead, 2 or 3 steps ahead, not getting closer for any reason. But every time something happens, that for some reason, just like a magnet, we just like each other so much that our car kind of want to mate. And I don't know. I'm even thinking to stay behind him, like on 2 car lengths, no matter what happened, just like to let him finish a damn race. And that's what is my brain is thinking right now. But I know he doesn't want to me to race like that. He doesn't want to battle. And but yeah, I'm still trying to figure out something, and I hope I will find a way. But yeah, I will be there next week.
I look forward to seeing you. Still a nice hustle to come home with a top 5 finish, and looking forward to Interlagos, sir.
Yeah, I really like that track. Maybe it's a little bit of a community favorite because everybody liked that track. I had a very nice race with Mick many years ago, and I never raced there since then, but I know the track very well. I just need to find some braking points and lines, and I think I will be okay. And hopefully I will see Togo finish a race with me in it.
That was Nicola Kaki finishing P4 out there, which is going to wrap us up as well. We want to mention once again, if you saw this and thought you could have some fun and you like the community that you're seeing, you can either join or renew your iRacing account at the best price possible all year long. 50% off new memberships, 25% off early renewals. Black Friday is going now through December 2nd. So you only have a couple more weeks to make this happen. Got to make a decision soon. And I encourage you to definitely get involved or take advantage of this if you're already on iRacing. In the meantime, we want to give a thank you to the community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, as well as to our team today, Joey, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Like we've been saying, we're off to Brazil next round, Saturday, November 23rd at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts, because up next, the IMSA Vintage Series is going to Watkins Glen, another classic. That'll be at noon Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.